Welcome back. So now you're pregnant. Congratulations. And now what? Let's talk about five things that you can do or that you might want to consider now that you're pregnant. So, the first thing, not biased at all, but I'm going to suggest that you find a prenatal chiropractor. If you're in the Bay Area, you're more than welcome to give me a call or schedule an appointment online. But you want to find a chiropractor who is qualified and experienced to work with prenatal practice members, right? It is not just that you are growing a tiny human and that you can be adjusted any which way. You want to find somebody, in my opinion, that is qualified and experienced to do so. So there is a great resource. There's the ICPA website. The link is below. Please check it out. Find a chiropractor in your area. If you need any support or guidance in that, please feel free to reach out. So chiropractic care is really helpful to start regulating your nervous system. If you haven't already been seeing a chiropractor, I would highly, highly suggest that you consider it because all the different nerves that go to all the different places in our bodies, whether it's muscles or organs or whatever kind of tissue that is getting communication from our nervous system, which is starting in our brain, going down through our spinal cord via all the nerves that are going to all the different places. And they're communicating from our brain to those organs and tissues and back to the brain, right? So we want to really make sure that as all of these changes are happening in our bodies, like there's all the things happening during pregnancy, we want to make sure that we're optimizing all of that communication as much as possible. And one of the best ways to do that, I think, is by receiving chiropractic adjustments. So that's number one. Number two is to really start paying attention to what your digestion is looking like, right? I think we get led to believe that whatever our bowel movement frequency is normal. And if you've heard me speak before, you'll know that I say common doesn't equal normal, right? So it's really common for people to be constipated or to be dealing with digestive symptoms. And because it might be familiar for you, it might be perceived as normal. And you might think like, well, this is just how my life is and carry forward, right? But as you're taking potentially prenatals, maybe iron, it might be creating more constipation for you, or even if you are not impacted by the iron or the prenatals in that way, then we still want to pay attention to what your bowel movement frequency is like, because there's a very strong correlation between your digestive health and the potential risk of postpartum depression after the baby arrives, right? So we really want to minimize that as much as possible. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to pay attention to your digestion as early as possible in your pregnancy. So, pop quiz for you. What is the ideal number of bowel movements that we should be having? You want to think about that? You want to drop it in the comments? I'd love to hear your answers. If you want the answers to that, you can check out our 6-week course, which is also linked below. We talk all about digestion, we talk all about movement and mindset, and it's really, really supportive for people in any stage of life, but really helping to get the foundations in place. But you want to think about healthy digestion as being the idea that in every meal that you eat, there would be nutrients that were absorbed and waste that is eliminated, right? So that kind of gives you the answer in terms of what healthy digestion should look like. But if you're not even having a bowel movement every day, or if you are having one a day, but it's a struggle or it's messy or all the things, I talk about this all the time. So I apologize if this is a little awkward of a conversation to hear it, but this is the point, right? We don't talk about digestion very much. So it kind of has become this taboo topic, but it's so critical and vital for so many different functions in our health and well-being. So paying attention to what your digestion is doing as early as possible in the pregnancy, trying to work with a functional medicine practitioner, or you can message me again or schedule an appointment. We work with people virtually all over the world, but really working to optimize your digestion as early as possible, again, to set you up for success as we move in this pregnancy journey. The third thing is to, along those lines of movement, getting your spine moving, getting your digestion moving, we really want to pay attention to hydration. So I looked at hydration for myself starting a number of years ago, But what I didn't realize in my first pregnancy was that as I was progressing in the pregnancy and the baby was getting bigger, that I also needed more water to stay hydrated, right? So a lot of times people get really good about drinking water during pregnancy, but it's also important to remember that we need to absorb the water so that we can process the different things and help remove the waste as efficiently as possible. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night early in the pregnancy, chances are that it's not the baby kicking your uterus, right? That's probably not what's happening. And so that could actually be an indication that you're actually dehydrated, right? It sounds a little counterintuitive that you would need to use the restroom if you're dehydrated, but we want to make sure that the tissues are absorbing the water. So, one great thing you could try would be to add some Himalayan salt, like a small pinch, it doesn't have to be a lot, to your glass of water, or adding some lemon or lime, whatever feels best for you and realistic for you. Especially if you're drinking filtered water, which is fantastic. I would highly, highly suggest drinking filtered water. But filtered water also removes all the minerals, right? So we want to try to replenish those minerals. And this is not drinking electrolyte water all the time. This is actually called gel water. So it's changed the molecular structure of the water, but it makes it more absorbable, more hydrating than just water. So having that every time you drink water will actually help absorb the water and make it more hydrating and allow you to process the waste more efficiently as well. So, this is not about retaining more water, it's actually the opposite. Because when your body is dehydrated, we actually hold on to water because your body doesn't really know when it's going to get water again. But when you're properly hydrated, your body can allow the water to flow and process with much more ease. So, try that for hydration. And then the fourth thing would be to try to think about our mindset with this, right? So even if you are super, super excited, everything is great, all the things are lining up, all of it is really wonderful, just remember that good mental stress is still a type of stress, right? And so we want to really start setting up, if you haven't already, we want to start setting up good mindful practices so that we can help regulate our mental health. And again, there's a link between the gut brain function. So we want to make sure that our brain is also functioning optimally. And that can look like doing a variety of things. Again, some of these things are things that we talk about in our 6 week course, but also these are the things that we work with our practice members on to really help identify their individual needs and what will really help move the needle the most for them. All right. And last but not least, we're going to talk about number 5 is movement, right? So it's important to move your spine with your adjustments, but it is also important to get movement so that we can get strength and stretch in our muscles and the tissues of our body. A lot of times I have practice members or friends who find out that they're pregnant and then decide to stop their workouts so that they can transition into something a little bit more gentle for their bodies, which is great. That's nothing against doing more gentle movements or stretches, but you want to try to make sure that you stay moving and active, right? A lot of times we get kind of scared about it, like we'll just become a little bit more sedentary because we don't want to really risk anything. But the more you can stay active, our bodies were just designed for movement. They just were, right? We weren't meant to be static human beings. And so the earlier you can start that movement, the more able your body is to adapt well to that movement. I'm not saying that, start preparing for a marathon in month 6 or 7, but if you are active in the first trimester, your body can adapt and allow you to progress in a much better way so that when the baby arrives, you have the strength to lift the baby because it's not just once or twice you have to lift this baby, it's all day long, right? And so to develop those muscles as early as possible so that you can prepare your body to be ready for your new baby. Please check out our 6 week course. The link is below, or you're welcome to book a discovery call. The link to my website is also below. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week.